What you see here is a picture of how the areas of concern for a buyer changes over the course of the negotiation. Now, what's important to keep in mind is that the negotiation is not simply one part of the sales interaction. The negotiation is present throughout the entire sales interaction. From when we meet an individual and a customer and a prospect to when we try to close the deal and engage in the hardcore part of the negotiation, it's ever present. So anything we say can and will be used against us in this negotiation. What I mean by that is anything we talk about price discounts or price flexibility earlier in the sales call will absolutely appear later on in the negotiation. But the other side of the coin is like Joe was talking about, the idea of the value propositions. If we present strong value propositions earlier in the sales call, we can then leverage those value propositions later on during these hard negotiations. Now, if we look at this, what we see is the areas of concern for the buyer and how they change over time. If we look at the first one, this idea of needs, customer needs, that is the most important issue for a customer when we start this interaction, but then that tends to drop off over these three different phases. Once we've identified the needs and we've defined that we can meet those needs, customers aren't concerned about that anymore. They start to move on to other issues of concern. The second thing we see is cost. Now, cost is going to be ever present, we know that. It starts second and it ends second in the negotiation. At the end of the day, price is going to be something that we have to address no matter what. And we want to overcome that through the value propositions in other areas. The third area, and one way that we can overcome some of these price concerns, is through presenting a solution. At the beginning of the negotiation, the idea of a solution is not that important. However, as we move further along, solution becomes much more important. And what I mean by this is what other value, what other service can we provide? How else can we help this customer as we move more into this consultative sales role? And the last component is this idea of risk. We see initially customers aren't concerned about risk, but that grows exponentially as we move further down this interaction, and risk becomes important. This whole process follows this idea of logic to emotion. Buyers start out very logical, very reasonable, with rational thought. But then as they move forward, they move to this idea of emotion-based decision making.